Our next speaker is the visionary behind the Master BIM concept, an innovative strategy aiming to dramatically reduce construction costs, minimizing environmental impact, and enhance client satisfaction. Lidl Sweden went from having the highest construction costs to becoming one of the most cost-efficient countries within the whole Lidl group in just 3 years. Known for his unconventional thinking, challenging established truths and redefining them into superior solutions, our next speaker is here to talk to us about how he made that happen. Please welcome Head of Design and Product Development at Resona, Max Tran.
Thank you. Thanks, Symmetry, for inviting me to this summit. My name is Max Tran, and I'm Head of Design and Product Development at Resona. What I'm going to present to you now is something unique. It's something that we have specially prepared for this summit. And the topic of this presentation is how Master BIM enable world-class project execution. The agenda is very short. I will briefly speak about the journey from top to bottom, the current status within the construction industry, some theories behind why we are doing what we do, of course, Master BIM, and then finally a summary. I joined Lidl in 2021. At that time, Lidl Sweden had the highest construction cost per square meter within the whole Lidl group, which consists of over 30 countries. Within just a few years, Lidl Sweden managed to advance more than 10 positions. In 2024, we have advanced more than 20 positions, and Lidl Sweden is today one of the 10 most cost-efficient Lidl countries within the Lidl group. So this is really the story about the journey from top to bottom. We can look at this in another way. We can look at how Lidl, since a long time, try to also reduce its cost, because nobody wants to be the most expensive country within the group, because it's not good for the leadership. But as you see, not much happened between 2019 and 2021. I joined Lidl Sweden in April 2021 and implemented VDC and its interpretation we call design roses, where Master BIM is part of that concept. So within just a few years, we managed to decrease the cost by 45% in real numbers, and this is here we haven't even considered the cost index inflation. If you take into account that number also, the cost reduction is much higher than 45%. At the same time, we also focus a lot on reducing the carbon footprint of our store project. A deep dive into the numbers shows that if we look at the start with the tendering phase, in 2021, the price differences between the three best bidders was between 20 to 40%. Leaders struggled to pick the bidders because who are you going to pick the most expensive one or the cheapest one? It was impossible to make the decision. But in 2024, the uncertainty has decreased to just 5 to 10% between the three best bidders. And if we would just look at the two best bidders, the difference is between 0.5 to 1%. We can also take a look at the end of the project, where we compare additional costs compared to the contract. In 2021, it was a huge difference between the final result compared to the contract. In some cases, let's say Lidl sign a contract for 10 million euros. At the end, the cost could be 15 million euros. So really 50% compared to the contract. But in 2024, that number has decreased to between just 3 to 5%, which is a manageable number. And the challenges that we had at Lidl is not unique for Lidl. Let's look at one of the largest construction projects in Sweden right now, the West Link in Sweden, in Gothenburg. It was supposed to cost 20 billion Swedish crowns and take about 8 years. Currently, nobody actually knows the final completion time. But we know that the cost has almost doubled and also the time. Another example, Kiruna-Berghof in the north of Sweden was supposed to cost 0.46 billion Swedish crowns. But it ended with more than 4 times the expected cost. The final example, the Berlin airport in Germany, was supposed to cost 2.7 billion. The final cost was 2.5 times that numbers. So the struggle that I experienced at Lidl is not just Lidl, it's for the whole construction industry everywhere. In 2009, I had the opportunity to see this graph, which shows how much the construction cost increased compared to consumer price index. So the pace, the construction cost index is increasing much faster, 48% faster compared to consumer price index. At that time, people told me, Max, no worries. With BIM, we will solve this. With technology, we will solve this. I really waited. Where do you think we are today? Have we managed to decrease the gap? Is it the same, or has it increased? The answer is the gap is almost twice as big as before. We haven't become better, despite BIM, despite technology. I have thinking about this issue for a long, long time, really hard, and for many, many nights. How do you know that the project you are in will become successfully or not? How do we know that we are on the right track, and how do we know that we have momentum? I have been in project where we measure deliveries from the consultants, where we got 100% of, let's say, models, drawings, other types of deliveries within time. 100%. perfectly. The project was supposed to be successfully. It didn't. We tried to measure it by putting the best people we have into the project. Do we have design manager, product manager, tendering engineer, the right architect, and so on. We really put the best resources that we have. Despite that, I failed. Another way of looking at this is that sometimes we try to make interviews in project where we have a group of experts coming to our project and making interviews with all the members. Do you have collaboration in the project? Do you follow the guidelines? Do you follow our processes? Of course, everybody wants to say that everything works fine, we are communicating very well, and we follow all of the guidelines and processes. It was green. The third project went down. And this was when I worked at Skanska. So I worked in 3 projects, and I spent about 60 to 80 hours a week to really try to make the project I managed to become successfully. But all of them failed. I was about to quit the industry. Luckily, one of my mentors told me, Max, what if you look at the data, the numbers, and find the root cause to this? Which I did. And one of the main findings I had was the level of administration we have in our project is too huge. I call it administrative taxes. This is just an example of the analysis that I did where we had a customer that sent us 46 documents with a lot of pages that we need to consider and implement in the project. So if you add all of the numbers, it contains 550 pages. And just to read all of these pages for a design team cost about 500 hours. So the initial cost for this customer, for this project, is 500 hours. And we haven't even started to making drawings yet. And if you think about all of the project you are in, how many documents and number of pages do you need to read and implement in your project? I didn't have the opportunity to solve this issue at Skanska, so I joined Lidl. And at Lidl, we had also a Lidl concept library with 350 pages. What I did was I turned those pages into master BIM. Master BIM is a constructible model. And by doing this, we managed to decrease the number of pages to just 54. We reduced more than 85% of the pages, the amount of information people need to read. But how does this works? When I started at Lidl, Lidl had 5 different concepts for city store, special store, standalone store, and 2 other types of stores. What we did was we scrapped all of the concept and restart from zero. We built one master BIM. And to that master BIM, we inserted something we call One Solutions. One Solutions, it's let's say it's the most efficient standards, the most efficient level of standardization. With this one master BIM, we copy it to our first project. And based on the feedback from the first project, we improve master BIM. We copy master BIM to the second project. Based on the feedback from the second project, we improve master BIM. So we had this improvement each and every week. So every week, the master BIM become better and better. So for every project and every week we did, it the starting point, it's much higher compared to before. So and this continues on and on and on. For example, the first project we implemented master BIM in was the Tumba renovation and extension project. We copy the master BIM, adapted it quickly to Tumba. We also did this for Hallenbergen, a city store, and also Sollefteå. So this is just example of how master BIM is independent of the design of the store. We don't care where the store is, what kind of requirements we have in the site. With master BIM, we start at 95% level of construction documentation. So the last 5%, we just need to make small adaptation. So an example of this, like we have a requirement for how for doors to electrical rooms, for doors to rooms where we store money. All of that was described in the Lidl library. But today, all of those objects are well defined. They are finished. So when we have a city store, move the door to the right location. When we have a standalone store, move the door. So almost every part are finished. We just need to adapt it to the local conditions. Another benefit of master BIM is that we can really jumpstart the design of the store and dramatically reduce the design time. For a small leader project, the design time is about 2 months. With master BIM, we did it in 2 weeks. In another project that I had, usually the design time is 3 months. We did it in 1 week. So this is not a something that we have done once. We have repeatedly done this. And as you have seen from the start, the result has been astounding. To summarize this, with master BIM, we have really redefined the use of BIM, the use of documentation, the way how we create information, the way how we present information, and the way for how we consume information. And with the master BIM, for me, it's like an iPhone. When you give it to somebody, they almost know how to use it. So we don't even have a manual called BIM manual anymore. In many companies, you have this kind of BIM manual to describe how you should work with BIM. There is none. There is single page or word about how to work with BIM, because everybody in the leader project knows how to do it, and every new people who comes into the new every new one who comes into a leader project, they quickly learned this by the culture, by the processes that we have developed. So within just a few years, Lidl Sweden had managed to decrease the construction cost by 45%. We have also managed to decrease not just the design time, but also the construction time by 50%. And also the carbon footprint by 27%. With that, I will say thank you.
In your summary, you mentioned what? 40% time savings, cost savings?
45% cost savings and 50% time savings.
Okay, so how expensive is it then to implement Master BIM? Because that, I mean, it makes you money, so...
It's cost less to create Master BIM compared to just design design cost in a typical project.
Oh, okay. So cheaper?
It's cheaper.
Okay, so are there any downsides? No, I'm just kidding. Is it possible to implement Master BIM in other types of projects than the ones that you've described?
I'm sorry?
Is it possible to implement Master BIM in other types of projects than you've described?
So I recently joined the company Resona, which is a residential developer. And currently we are on our way to build our Master BIM.
Oh, okay. So, yes.
So we will show that this is also possible within for other type of project.
Mm-hmm. I know also that a lot of companies are struggling with feedback loops.
Yes.
Yeah. How does Master BIM handle that?
Normally, in many companies, they struggle a lot with how do we do this feedback loop. They maybe try to do it once a year to improve their specifications. But with Master BIM, we do it weekly. So each week we gather feedback from everybody in the company. And if the idea improvement is good, then we implement it in Master BIM. And the next project that we always got the newest version of Master BIM.
So does this mean that there's a limit to perhaps how many people can be involved? Because collecting feedback from a lot of people every week, is that?
No, it's no issue at all, because this is kind of a natural way of how we work.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't require more energy or time.
Exciting. Thank you so much for being with us, and best of luck, and thank you for giving us this fantastic presentation.
Yeah,
thank you,
Max.
You.